Gamers, my name is Jonal. Welcome to this video of where we go over every single gun that's currently available here in Valorant, their spray pattern, recoil, stuff like that, also the damage module against armored and non-armored opponents, and also how they affect your economy situation in game, which guns are good and when to pick them at certain situation, everything like that here and in between is what we cover today. Now, of course, before the video starts, a like on the video really does help out. I'm a very small YouTuber, so right now, so I don't drown in the sea of content from some of these larger YouTubers like Tim Tatman and Shroud, liking really does help out against that. Of course, comment down below. I'm very, very interested. Are you in the beta? What do you think about it so far? And, of course, which gun between the Phantom and the Vandal do you like? Just comment Phantom or Vandal. I will kind of count them up. I'm very interested. I personally hate the Phantom with a spitting fire, and at the same time I love the Vandal, but I would like to hear a little bit more from the community on that subject. Just which of these two rifles, which are practically identical in stats, there's a very tiny difference, which one do you prefer right now in the game? Now, with no further ado, let's really just begin. Right now on the screen, there's a cheat sheet. You guys can just take it, you can just nick it, and if you want to, you can post this onto subreddits and so on and share it around. This is every single gun and how much they will take to take down an opponent. The white text is against no armored opponents, and the orange text is against armored opponents. So, just share that around. Of course, I would appreciate if I get credited, but outside of that, I think it's very important that the community gets this kind of information because it really does matter about how good a weapon is and how many shots you need to certain body parts so you know what you need to aim for to take him out. Now, outside of that, let's just begin. So, these are all the guns that are currently available in the game. And because not everybody will watch to the end, these are the guns that currently are categorized as some of the best guns in the game. On the sidearm, it's the Ghost and the Sheriff. On the SMGs, it's the Spectre. Shotguns, the Bucky is actually really fucking good. All the rifles are good at their own different pacing. Of course, which one you like of the Phantom or the Vandal is up to you. Both snipers are good for different scenarios. Well, the operator's good at any scenario, just fucking click bodies, bro. And the LMGs, or the heavies, I suppose it's called, are not very good. Now, let's go over the stats, and we start with the classic pistol they start with. A surprisingly good gun, actually, even against armored opponents. You need 4 body shots to take somebody down, or 2 headshots. If they wear armor, you need 6 body shots. That's a lot, but you still need 2 headshots. And the recoil pattern of this is actually fairly good. If I spam it without compensating anything, it's a decent spread. However, as soon as you start tapping it, right, here we go. If you start tapping it, it's actually fairly accurate. And because it needs two shots, and these guys now, the bots now have armor on, you can see how good this gun actually can be. Next up is the shotty. Now the shotty is used in very specific situations. It one-shots anybody with or without armor. Remember, they have armor on right now. So if you land put them in this, if it lands in the center and you hit it with a majority of the spread, it one-taps. They can even go through and one-shot 2 of them because of armor plan or because of penetration. This gun is pretty fucking good and also pretty fucking bad. It only costs 200, so it's really good if you're ecoing against a full buy and you want to just hold sight, or you're engaging really quickly on sight with a lot of smokes, for example with Viper. This gun can actually be really, really nasty. However, logically, you have no flexibility with this weapon, as you can see. So as soon as you start coming up with these ranges, it's not very good. Now, next on the list is the Frenzy. And the Frenzy is the exact same stats as the Classic, damage model-wise, except it's full auto. So it's 4 body shots or 2 headshots, no matter what. So 2 headshots against armor, just like the other one. Now, the spray pattern of this weapon is fairly decent. This is without compensating. So it has a pretty big kick. If you can control that, you can land some pretty consistent shots. However, I know a lot of people don't like this because it can sometimes feel like it's a little bit inconsistent. And it has a lower kick. That's why some people don't like it, and for 100 more, you get this. This is the Ghost. The Ghost, without armor, if they don't have armor on, let's see there, you one shot to the head. And the gun is really, really accurate. If you go over here and take the spray pattern, let me see, I'll just clear this. If you shoot fast, that's max fire rate. That's not a lot of spray. If you tap it, as you can see, it's very, very accurate. That's why most people like it, and it's only 100 more than the Frenzy. Now, this also does, of course, if you land body shots, you need 4 body shots to take somebody down. If they're wearing armor, you need 5 body shots or 2 headshots. It's a fairly good gun. Most people, because of how the economy works, likes to buy one of their abilities on each of them. So, for example, in this scenario, 1 updraft and 1 cloudburst, and then they will have enough to still buy a ghost. And because nobody is wearing armor on the first round, and also a lot of time they don't wear armor on the second round, you can start just one-tapping heads in the game. Now, next one is the Sheriff. This does, you need 2 body shots if they don't have armor, or 1 headshot, or you need 3 body shots if they have armor, or still 1 headshot. No matter what, you only need 1 headshot to take them down. Doesn't matter what. The gun is logically really accurate. So, standing at a pretty good distance and spamming. Going a little bit all over the place. If you tap fire it, however, and you kind of control the spray of this, it becomes fairly accurate. Now, most people again like to burn this against armored teams that is full buying, because it costs 800, so it's not the biggest investment. You can play this without armor yourself, and you can, as long as you can land a headshot, that's a huge, huge, huge economic damage done to the opponent team. That's normally what people like to burn this on. Of course, you need to hit those shots, and as soon as they start wearing armor, if you don't start headshotting, it takes a long time to get accurate follow-up shots on them to take somebody down. Heading over to the SMGs. This is the Stinger. It costs 1,000, meaning it costs 200 more than the Sheriff, and that's why a lot of people don't like it. You need 4 body shots, or 2 headshots if they don't wear armor, or you need 6 body shots, or 3 headshots if they're wearing armor. Now, this gun is actually fairly good. It has pretty high fire rate, as you can see if I go over here. However, a lot of recoil. It works only in some of these closer ranges. If I put it all the way over here, this is a 20-meter range, and I walk all the way up, so it actually is 20 meters. It goes all over the place. So that's why a lot of people don't like this. It does have an alternative fire mode. If you scope down, it will give you a burst that can be somewhat accurate and give you some flexibility. However, a lot of people don't like this gun comparatively to the Sheriff, just because the Sheriff is a one-shotting. It's 2 very, very different approaches to the game. This does actually strike a very good middle ground between having range and being a close quarter only gun, which we will see when we start coming over to the shotguns. It works really reasonably well against armored opponents and can shred somebody very fast if they don't pay attention to you without being too much of an economy investment. Now, then we go over to the one that everybody loves. That's the Spectre. The Spectre is 600 more, which is a significant price increase. However, it does not do that much differently. It has practically the same damage model as the Stinger. It does 4 body shots or 2 headshots to non-armored opponent, just like the Stinger. 6 body shots, just like the Stinger against armored opponents. And it requires 2 headshots instead of 3 to take down an armored opponent. So it's a little bit better when it comes to those headshots. However, it is so much more accurate, and it's so much more easier to control. This is actually one of the easier guns to control in the game, because all you need to do is to pull down. If I clear this and move it closer, this is a spray pattern without compensating. So you can see the very first wave of bullets are just straight up. So all you need to do is to pull down on the very first kind of wave of bullets. Doing that, you can very quickly delete a lot of players with relative ease. Also, it has, of course, a scope mode in case you want to be a little bit more accurate. But normally, I just enjoy shooting this from the hip. It's a really good gun, and it's normally used if you, for example, you're playing defensive side, and you win your first round, you normally don't have enough money to buy rifles and armor, but you do a lot of time have enough to buy armor and a Spectre. So a lot of time you can buy this and run an eco against them, and the enemy team who just lost will a lot of time just run pistols, and you can normally just spray them all down with relative ease. Now, then we go over to the shotgun, and this is the Bucky, and it's actually relatively good. Like, it's really insane. Again, this is against armored bots. So you can see, it is actually pretty good. 900 for this one. Close quarter can one tap. If they go on longer ranges, use your alternative fire, and you get a longer range shot. Of course, using your longer range shot at the wrong distance does practically no damage. So you do need to actually know the range of the gun. But if you do, using this with Viper, for example, or even as Jet, just cloud bursting away onto an area, is really, really scary. And it's a really, really good gun because it's so flexible and it can one-shot through armor, against armor or against no armor. It's still a one-tap if you hit it correctly. Now then you also have this. This is the Judge. This is just a shitty, more expensive version of Bucky. It, as you can see here, if I just reset this real quickly, I'll just scroll to the side on. Here we go. It's supposed to be a semi-auto. This is what happens when you hold down the fire button. It doesn't have a secondary fire mode, by the way. This is what happens when you hold down the fire button. It spreads a lot to one side, which is kind of the issue. It does that accuracy, and yes, it still does one shot against armor or against no armor. Still a one shot. The problem is it loses all form of range, and if you start holding down the button, it can start becoming very inaccurate. A lot of time, and again, this costs like 600 more. So for the same price, now for cheaper, you can buy a Bucky and a Ghost and have a pretty good pistol and this, or you can buy the Bucky and a light shield and still be saving money on this, which is significantly different. Then we go to the rifles. This is the Bulldog. You have to learn the recoil pattern of a Bulldog. It is the eco rifle of the game. Only 2100 actually. Now, damage roll is pretty insane. If they don't have armor, it's a one tap to the head or 3 to the body. If they have armor, it's two headshots or 5 to the body. The recoil pattern on this gun is pretty good. If you go over here and I just hold down or compensate, it's pretty nice. Again, a very long jump up and then it starts going out of control. Logically, as always, controlling this spray up top here is the difference between a really good and a bad player. But if you're just new to the game and you're struggling with the aim, just being able to pull down like this goes a long way. It also have a scope mode, which fires a 3-round burst, which can work pretty well. Now, then we go over to the Guardian. The Guardian costs 2,700. It's 200 cheaper than your Phantom or your Vandal. However, it's a one-shot to the head, semi-automatic, at any range. Doesn't matter if they have armor or not. You land a headshot, they go down. On top of that, if they don't have armor, it's 2 to the body. If they wear armor, it's 3 to the body. So, yeah, they had armor on, right. My bad. I thought they didn't have. Now, this has a very fine fire rate that you need to master to be precise with this. If you just spam it, you can see it start kicking up a little bit and it start becoming unruly. If you however tap it, you can fire 2 right after each other on practically the exact same spot. If you do a little bit, if you just put in a little bit of effort and control the vertical recoil, you will get a very tight group on the same elevation. doing that you can very quickly start tapping your way through targets very effectively, especially if you're starting to land, you know, as soon as you're, every time you're shooting in these head heights, you know, it's one-shot bullets that's coming down range at them. A lot of people like this. If you have the aim, you're gonna be nasty with this. Then we come to the Phantom and the Vandal, and I hate the Phantom, so I would very much like not to show you, but I have to, because there's actually a significant difference between these. The difference is damage versus fire rate. The damage module on the cheat sheet, you can see, is exactly the same. 3 body shots, 1 headshot against non-armored opponents, or 4 body shots or 1 headshot against armored opponents. So it's always 1 shots to the head, both this one and the Vandal. And it always does either 3 body shots or 4 body shots against armored and non-armored opponents. Now, however, this is different. One, there's a difference in the recoil pattern a little bit, about how they look on the recoil pattern. So this is number 1. This is the Vandal. You see this? This is essentially, you know, a good old AKT. And you can see this one, on the other hand, is far more up, and then it spreads out a little bit more. So there's a little bit of a difference in the recoil. However, the real difference is between this. The Phantom does not one-shot against armor at all ranges. So they have armor on right now. That's not a one-tap. That's a two-tap. However, here, that's a one-tap. So it doesn't one-tap at all ranges. However, the Vandal always one-taps at all ranges. And that's the difference between those two. This gun always will one-tap at those ranges. However, the Phantom has a slightly faster fire rate. As you can see here, if I shoot them side by side really quickly, it's a little bit faster fire rate. Now, I also like the Vandal, one, because of the higher damage and so on, but also just because I think that it's, for me, it's a little bit easier to control. That's also because I practice this one and I don't practice the other one. So, of course, that's a little bit to do with that. But for me, this is a little bit easier to control. I think that's really down to preference and what you practice and how you practice it. So, that's the difference. That's also why I would like to hear what you like the most, because I see a lot of people that's playing with the Phantom, and the Phantom is like hands down, this is the coolest one. It has a fucking silencer on. It's the fucking coolest one of the two, in my opinion. It just, listen to those shots. However, I personally just like this one so much better. Sniper time, boys. If you can click good, then you should start looking at maybe playing snipers. Now, this is the Marshal. It does 1 shot. If you don't have armor, doesn't matter. You can hit them in the body, you can hit them in the head. Does not give 2 fucks about it. If they're wearing armor, you need to land a headshot to 1 tap, or you need to land 2 body shots. This is actually very accurate from the hip, which is kind of weird. As you can see here at some of these longer ranges, start becoming a little bit inaccurate, but it's fairly accurate. Also, again, scope time this game and scope movement time, like how fast you move with this, is actually really fast in this game. And remember, when you see this red dot, it's accurate. When you don't see that red dot, it's not very accurate, as you can see. Pretty good gun. 1,100. It's a little bit more expensive than the Bucky. It's cheaper than the Spectre. And essentially, how I like to look at it is, if you invest $300 more, you swap the Sheriff out for a Sheriff with a scope. Then we have this one, this big fucking beast. This is the Operator. It one-taps logically to the body, doesn't matter. It one-taps everything. I should stop quickscoping because it doesn't fucking work. Here we go. It's generally a beast. However, it's also the most expensive gun at $4,500, which is a lot because you can buy a Vandal and armor for less. But then we go over to these guys. These guys are not advisable to play. So much so, the recoil is so high that I can't show it on the disc. I need to show it on this wall. So this is Ares. It does 4 body shots to a kill, or 2 headshots, or 5 body shot against armored, or 3 headshots. So, let's see. That's the recoil. I can try to do it on this one. If I stand close, it probably works fine. And I aim low. That is the recoil of this gun. It is a lot. It is clunky to get started and then continuing with. And therefore, in my opinion, not very good. It's also 1,700, which is more than the Spectre costs. And then you had the Odin for 3,200, meaning it's less than these guys, and it doesn't one-shot. This does 3, you need 3 to the body or 2 to the head if they don't wear armor, or you need 4 to the body or 2 to the headshot if they're wearing armor. That's horrible, when you can, for less money, buy this boy, who can AK spray down a whole, group with headshots and body shots. But nevertheless, let me show you the recoil pattern. Again, I have to show this on this wall because this has like ridiculously high. A reminder that we started down where my crosshair is now. That's where we started, and we ended up here. Now, the faster you shoot, the faster the fire rate becomes, which is kind of the point of these. However, I don't see really the reason that you would want to buy some of these unless you're gonna like, or something like that, or something like that. But at that point, I think there's better solutions than to spend 3,200 on this gun. So that's all the stuff. Again, like the video, it really does help out against YouTube's algorithm. Comment, subscribe, bell notification, all that stuff. It's very much appreciated. Thank you guys for the amazing support. Hope you guys liked it. Again, the cheat sheet will be on the screen once again, just in case. Outside of that, please take care of yourselves, stay positive, wash your hands, stay inside. I love you guys very, very much. My name is Jonal. As always, you guys keep your enemy in your crosshair.